So a celebrity came to Sodor one day. The engine was known as and from the city of Truro. Based on an actual locomotive to claim a top speed of reaching 100 miles an hour, many were quite astonished of his coming to the island. The same could be said for that diesel in the bottom left corner of the frame. If that's who I think it is, it makes no sense why he's back. As for the visitor, the rest of the engines were not sure how to react. The music created for this scene is well done too. It sounds rather like a graduation anthem of sorts.
"Who is that?" whispered Thomas to Duck. "That," said Duck proudly, "is a celebrity. Driver says we can talk to him soon." "Oh," said Thomas, "he's probably too famous to even notice us."
Well, if he didn't notice you guys, it wouldn't be surprising since the city of Truro lacks a facial mask entirely. It's kind of odd the film crew went with this choice. If the engines of Sodor could hold a conversation with this famous individual, then surely he's got a mouth somewhere. I understand this is the first story to involve a character from another area to come to the island, so maybe they were just fiddling with the idea at this time. The only engine not at all interested was Gordon, the fastest engine on Sodor. For plain as day reasons, there is no other justification as to why Gordon would not be on board other than him being jealous.
"Who is he anyway? He's famous. As famous as me? Nonsense. He's famouser than you. He went 100 miles an hour before you were even thought of. He's got no dome. Never trust domeless engines. They're not respectable."
Famouser? I did a quick search on that word, and it isn't really a thing. The line should be, he's more famous than you, not he's famouser than you. I'm more technically inclined to other things, but that wording was off enough for me to recognize the grammar is just way wrong there. And this whole domeless engines crap? Whatever, Gordon. You're just making up excuses now. I love Duck's face here, though. He's just yucking it up there. The grin says, yeah, okay, Gordon, keep telling yourself that.
Just then, Gordon arrived. "Puh," said Gordon. "Who cares? A lot of fuss about nothing, if you ask me."
Later that day, Gordon was working extra hard just to prove a point. To nobody, really. Whenever he was pulling the express, he made sure he was moving his wheels as fast as he could, just so he could show that he could fly at 100 miles an hour. Speaking of flying, the engine to actually hold the definite record of that speed was the Flying Scotsman. Ah, now it makes sense as to why Gordon's jealous. Even Edward knew this, because why not? Edward is, after all, the smartest tender engine on Sodor.
Then he told Edward what Gordon had said. "Take no notice," soothed Edward. "He's just jealous. He thinks no engine should be famous but him."
Of course, it wasn't like Gordon was going to admit this. He rattled and rolled as fast as he could. All for what? I'll tell you what. To end up shaking his dome loose on top of his boiler. When he realized this, though, it was already too late. The last thing he should have done was cross over the breezy viaduct. But as he did, the wind gladly took his dome and knocked it off into the water below. I didn't even have to ask till now, but did we just witness a Gordonism happen again? Yeah, I thought so.
At the big station, the freight cars laughed at him. Gordon tried to wheesh them away, but they crowded round no matter what he did.
Ha! That music suits the situation quite well. The synthesizer oboe solo is perfect for Gordon's embarrassment. Say that 3 times fast. Synthesizer oboe solo. It's even funnier that the troublesome trucks know what's up even when they weren't around when Gordon was talking about domeless engines. Or the word spread like wildfire again. Then again, maybe not. The engines don't talk to the trucks, so they just might have overheard it or something. Can't help you out of this one, Gordon. This one is your own undoing. Like usual.
"I hope the shed is empty tonight," he huffed to himself. But all the engines were there waiting. "Never trust domeless engines," said a voice from somewhere behind him. "They aren't respectable."
I said I can't help, Gordon. It's actually difficult for me to accept, but I really don't recall this many episodes of the show revolving around this particular storytelling formula. This kind of narrative is a guilty pleasure for me, because so many different scenarios can be made. Yet it still is shocking we are seeing another story having this kind of structure. Let's see some variety here. I don't mind them, but we need to change it up. As for the narration, done by George Carlin, the lines read are really funny. The way Carlin makes Gordon sound is more like an old uncle or something. The gruffness of his voice gives Gordon quite a crotchety man sound. Good riddance! I love it. As for Gordon himself, he's another one just like James who can't seem to stay out of their own way. One minute they're bragging on their soapbox about how wonderful they are, and then shortly thereafter they're eating their own words. How many times does it take to learn this, guys? I'm sure many more. As mentioned, for the city of Truro, the concept of bringing outside engines onto the island was an interesting idea to throw out there. This would only be explored further as the seasons continue. The sets shown for this episode vary greatly in appearances. The two noticeable stations shown here were Wellsworth, which Gordon blows right through, and Knapford Station, where he gets laughed at by the trucks. The shot of Tidmouth Sheds is hung onto for some time, while the city of Truro visits. Then there's scenic shots like the Country Line rails, the Valley Bridge, and the viaduct where Gordon loses his chrome dome. Also, we get our first glimpse at what will be Henry's Forest. That was always a nice area to see. The music was also quite diversified. Much of the themes revolved around Gordon, but only twice did it actually use his signature cue. One was the original, and the other was the ending scene where he trundled home. That rendition had the same notes, but in a different key to match Gordon's mood. The Grumpy Gordon cue for when he gripes to the other engines is fun, as well as the graduation-type theme used for the city of Truro. It's another Gordonism story, but it's a fun one. Next episode is Donald's Duck. Thanks for watching.